A judge has declared a mistrial in the rape case against Harvey Weinstein after the jury in New York could not reach a unanimous verdict. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg stated that prosecutors are currently determining whether to try the case again in court. The mistrial marks the third time a New York jury has considered the case against the mogul. It marks the third time a New York jury has considered the case against the 74-year-old disgraced film mogul, who remains jailed on other charges. The month-long trial was centered around whether Weinstein raped aspiring actress Jessica Menn more than a decade ago. He was initially convicted, but the verdict was overturned. Dozens of women have accused Weinstein of sexual misconduct, including rape, since October 2017, and he has consistently denied wrongdoing. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg said in a statement that prosecutors are currently determining whether to try again in court. The case involves allegations of sexual misconduct, including rape, against Weinstein, with dozens of women having accused him since October 2017. The Supreme Court on Friday rejected Virginia's bid to restore a congressional map that would have given Democrats a chance to pick up 4 seats in the closely divided House of Representatives. The ruling followed a separate decision by the Virginia Supreme Court, which had struck down the constitutional amendment that voters had narrowly passed just last month. The Supreme Court generally does not intervene in state court proceedings unless a clear issue of federal law is presented. Virginia Democrats had argued that the state court had misinterpreted federal law and Supreme Court precedent regarding when an election officially takes place. They contended that an election does not occur until Election Day itself, even if early voting has begun. The Virginia Supreme Court's earlier decision found that the Democratic-controlled legislature improperly started the process of placing the amendment on the ballot after early voting had already begun in the state's general election last fall. The rejection of the map restoration bid comes as other states, including Alabama and Louisiana, have seen the Supreme Court side with Republicans regarding efforts to redraw their congressional maps. Experts warned that the increasing sophistication of artificial intelligence is making scams harder to avoid for the general public. Scammers are now using voice cloning technology that can sound very real, and seniors are frequently targeted by these schemes. One incident detailed involved a victim who received a call claiming to be from Amazon regarding a MacBook purchase. During the call, the victim was transferred to a department that directed her to the Social Security Administration. The situation escalated when the victim sent $26,000 to the scammer. However, the transaction was reportedly stopped when her local bank manager intervened, having searched the address online and shown it to her. The bank manager discovered the address belonged to an empty house at a new construction site, leading the manager to warn the victim that she was being scammed. The next step for consumers remains to be highly skeptical of unsolicited calls, especially those creating a sense of panic or urgency, regardless of how convincing the voice or scenario may sound. The Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention confirmed a new Ebola outbreak in Congo's Ituri province, reporting 65 deaths attributed to the outbreak, with 4 of those cases confirmed in a laboratory. The situation has drawn attention due to cross-border concerns, as Uganda reported one Ebola case involving a Congolese man admitted to a hospital in Kampala 3 days before he died. Uganda's health ministry stated that the patient was tested posthumously after neighboring Congo confirmed its outbreak. Officials noted that all contacts linked to this man have been quarantined. The Africa CDC stated that the deaths and suspected cases have been recorded mainly in the Mongwalu and Rumpara health zones. The World Health Organization previously noted that Congo maintains a stockpile of treatments and approximately 2,000 doses of the Ervebo Ebola vaccine. The deceased's body was reportedly taken back to Congo, and the Ugandan ministry indicated the person was infected with the Bundibugyo virus, a variant endemic to Uganda. The next step involves continued monitoring of the situation in the affected health zones. Former correctional officer Tova Knoll is scheduled to testify in a closed-door deposition before the House Oversight Committee regarding the night before Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his cell. Knoll was one of 2 guards working at the facility on August 9, 2019. The testimony is part of the committee's ongoing inquiry into how the federal government handled cases involving Epstein. While the medical examiner's autopsy report ruled the death as suicide, developments since have fueled speculation about the circumstances. In her 2021 testimony, Knoll stated she was likely the last person to see Epstein alive in his cell at or past 10 p.m. She also told investigators she was present when Epstein's body was found around 6:30 a.m. the next day, and saw the other officer on duty perform CPR. Federal investigators had previously charged Knoll and another officer with falsifying records by indicating on prison log entries that they had completed prisoner check-ins the night Epstein died, when they claimed they had not. The committee's investigation continues to examine the handling of the case, and the focus remains on the testimony provided by those who worked at the Metropolitan Correctional Center that night. Tariffs on imports from China and other U.S. trade partners reportedly climbed significantly, rising from a 10% rate in February 2025 to 145% by mid-April, following proposed import taxes. During a recent visit to Beijing, Donald Trump spoke with Chinese President Xi Jinping, calling the meeting an honor. However, amid these discussions, some observers noted that hardline positions against China remain part of the political rhetoric. This tariff escalation followed accusations from Trump and his allies, who alleged that Beijing was stealing technology and flooding U.S. streets with fentanyl. Despite the high-level meetings, one source suggested that even numerous presidential summits would not change the fundamental issues where the U.S. and China are unlikely to agree. The next point of focus remains the unresolved disagreement over core issues, such as Taiwan, which Beijing views as a renegade province. Authorities reported Thursday that a vessel anchored off the United Arab Emirates was seized and taken toward Iran. Separately, a cargo ship near Oman sank after being attacked, as tensions escalated in the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is a critical global waterway, as it is a passage through which an estimated fifth of the world's oil passes. The instability of the region has been a point of discussion in talks between the United States and Iran regarding the conflict. Regarding the sinking, Indian authorities stated that an Indian-flagged cargo ship sank off the coast of Oman. This occurred after an attack sparked a fire aboard the vessel while it was traveling from Somalia to Sharjah, which is a port in the UAE. The UK Maritime Trade Operations Centre reported that the seized vessel was taken by unauthorized personnel while anchored northeast of the UAE port of Fujairah. The UK centre did not name the ship and stated it is investigating the seizure. The next step involves monitoring the situation as the UK centre continues its investigation into the vessel taken near the UAE. Three people familiar with the matter told the Associated Press that the Justice Department is preparing to seek an indictment against former Cuban President Raúl Castro. This report comes amid threats of possible military action against the communist-run island from President Donald Trump. The potential criminal charges, which would require approval from a grand jury, could significantly raise tensions with Havana. Such an action would escalate expectations of U.S. military involvement in Cuba, similar to actions taken in Venezuela. One source indicated that the potential indictment may relate to Castro's alleged role in the 1996 shootdown of 4 planes operated by the Miami-based exile group Brothers to the Rescue. Separately, CIA Director John Ratcliffe met with Cuban officials, including Castro's grandson, during a high-level visit to the island on Thursday. The Cuban government did not respond to a request for comment regarding the potential indictment. The next developments depend on later filings or official statements from investigators or attorneys. Daisy Rivera Ortega was released from detention in El Paso, Texas, following a scheduled immigration appointment. The arrest occurred on April 14 when she and her husband, U.S. Army Sergeant Jose Serrano, attended the appointment. Serrano, who has served in the military for nearly 28 years, told reporters that his wife's detention had been a source of distress for him. During the appointment, Serrano stated that immigration authorities cited an issue with the documentation provided by the couple. In the same court order that addressed her removal, Rivera Ortega was granted a protection known as withholding of removal under the Convention Against Torture. This protection prevents immigration and customs enforcement from deporting her to her home country due to concerns about potential harm. Matthew James Kozik, who represented Rivera Ortega in her federal detention case, stated, "We celebrate her release." The initial order in 2019 had directed her removal to El Salvador. The couple had gathered documentation regarding their marriage, which occurred in 2022, and their work status for the appointment. The next step involves the enforcement of the protection granted by the court order. The future of OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, and the reputations of its key figures, Sam Altman and Elon Musk, are central to a legal showdown in California. Over the past 3 weeks, evidence presented in federal court has ranged from text messages to reports of free Teslas allegedly offered in exchange for power. The proceedings have been overseen by a judge who will take the jury's decision under advisement. Witnesses at the trial, including OpenAI co-founder Ilya Sutskever and former board member Tasha McCauley, stated they had never seen evidence of any commitment from Musk regarding the company's nonprofit status. Additionally, Microsoft boss Satya Nadella testified, noting his company conducted extensive due diligence before investing billions into OpenAI. Musk's central claim in the lawsuit alleges that Altman misrepresented his commitment to OpenAI's nonprofit status. Furthermore, Microsoft is a co-defendant, accused by Musk of aiding and abetting in the alleged scheme. The next developments depend on later filings or court action.